मित्रांनो, लक्षवेध इन्स्टिट्यूटच्या चॅनलला व्हिजिट केल्याबद्दल धन्यवाद. लक्षवेध इन्स्टिट्यूट चॅनलला जरूर सबस्क्राइब करा.
Mr. Deepak Ghaisas is chairman of Gencoval Strategic Services Private Limited, chairperson of the board and independent member on Mindspace Business Parks REIT, board member of Shoppers Stop and several other companies. He also serves as co-founding general partner at Xfinity Venture Partners, a private equity fund. He is also an angel investor. Deepak is the chairperson of Triple IT Gwalior and Jabalpur. Previously, he was the CEO, India Operations and CFO of iFlex Solutions Limited, now Oracle Financial. He is actively involved in various committees of CII, RBI and IIB. He is fellow member of CA, ICSI Institute and ICWA Institutes. Great welcome to Deepak Ghaisas. While he was assisting me for the chair, he also reminded me that he's a power lifter at some point of time. A great lover of...
Not power lifter, I was weight lifter.
Weight lifter. Thanks for correction. Avid lover of Shastriya Sangeet. And because of him, we got a lot of Shastriya Sangeet concerts in Ville Parle, thanks to iFlex. iFlex was the key sponsor for Uday Shar's Prabhatre Foundation Shastriya Sangeet programs, and he has done a lot of work for Shastriya Sangeet and amazing work for its propagation. So without much ado, Deepak, such a privilege to have you here at Business Jatra. How do you feel the environment?
I think I told Atul first moment I came here and saw him. I think you guys have done a phenomenal job, and very difficult first to think like this and then actually to implement it, and consecutively second time. And I've been working with him for past 10 years, and I have seen him growing. So I think what you guys have done is very good. Thank you.
Great. So Deepak, ideas are always there. It's in the air, yet to be proven. And I'm sure you meet a lot of entrepreneurs with big, brilliant ideas.
Because all we do is for them.
Absolutely.
Right? It is not for us.
True. So we got all ideas. Everybody has got ideas. And you meet so many entrepreneurs. But really speaking, how do you want to get presented with those ideas? In what form? Specific format? And what is your thumb rule for filtering whether to go for investment, not to invest, or simple advisory kind of?
Yeah, it's true that rather getting idea is a human tendency. So 24/7 you keep on getting ideas. Before going to sleep, sometimes in the dreams, you get ideas. Sometimes you remember them. And especially for last 2 decades, when the startup thing was becoming more and more popular, I think ideas keep on coming and people come, especially youngsters, with their own ideas. And of course, not all the ideas are implementable. But I never called any idea stupid. I think the stupid idea is one which is not told to anybody, and person keeps with himself or herself. Okay? So I think if you get idea, you must talk to someone in the first place, express that to somebody. But what we see as, when I can do a complete 3-hour session on not how you get ideas, but what you do with the idea. Okay. So one thing that we look for behind idea is obsession. I think unless you have an obsession with the idea, that idea cannot create value. And what we look for is the idea that creates value ultimately. Okay? And value in terms, not only in terms of money, but in terms of society, in terms of country, and larger extent to humanity. Right? So every idea is laughable first. Because when 100 years back somebody said that I can press a button and light will go on, people must have laughed at him. When Bill Gates said that computers will be on the desktop, people had laughed at him. And this was not far away, 50 years back. When somebody said that, because first computers that I saw were in IIT Mumbai, my father had taken me there. There were Russian computers full of this kind of room with cupboard-like hard disks with total storage capacity of some 500 MB. And we were, see, you're laughing now. We were astonished by 500 MB because we could not calculate number of zeros on 5. And we thought that was a great thing. But if somebody would have told me 1,000 times more disk you can be holding in your palm, I would have laughed at that, right? So every idea is laughable at the first place, okay? How soon people can forget the laughter and get astonished is very important. And for that, you require your own obsession. And unless we see that obsession behind the idea, we will reject that at the first place. I think second question that I would ask when I get the idea is that, am I the only person to get such a great idea, or there were some people more before me? And many people come without simple thing as doing Google on the idea that you get. And you'll find that there'll be million pages at least on that idea already available. So I'm not the only person to get it. So probably I should not pursue that unless I'm doing something different. Third thing is, I think when idea comes to you and then you're obsessed about it, you're passionate about it, you think that this is the first time somebody has thought like that, then I think the third thing that one should look for is how I can implement it to create a value. The fourth thing I can think about it, how do I collect the team around it? Because I need a team which has got the same passion, same obsession with the same idea. Because creating that team is so important because you cannot implement any idea on your own. And especially in the current era, because many of the ideas depend on technology and all these technologies are interconnected. I'm going to give a quick example. In 99, 2000, there was a dot-com era. And dot-com era failed because my thinking is that they were ahead of time. Because dot-com era, if you remember 2000, we had modems with 96 KB speed. They used to come to it used to go away. And I cannot do a banking transaction or e-commerce transaction on that. So dot-com was not wrong idea, but there was not supporting technology or ecosystem which was created around it. So when I get an idea and I want to implement it, I must choose the right technology platform. And to select technology platform, I must look at the ecosystem which is around it. And if all these 5 parameters are okay, then I look at funding. But I think funding comes last. Unfortunately, many people think funding comes first. And many times these people come and as a P Xfinity. I mean, I can tell you, I have last 24 months, I must have gone through at least 500 presentations. And we don't take presentations on PowerPoint because I think any idea that is taken on PowerPoint is not worth. Okay, maybe a harsh way of talking about Microsoft, but the moment you start putting that on PowerPoint, I think you lose your creativity. Okay, I mean, that's my thumb rule. So we tell them, you talk to us. You have to talk to the person looking into his eyes or her eyes and see the passion, obsession, the conviction. And if that goes through, I think you create as an entrepreneur a gut feel about that idea. And if that gut feel says it's okay, then the last question I ask always is, can you describe your idea in one line? And most of the time, people bring a presentation of 30 slides, 40 slides to explain the idea as if we don't understand what you say. Okay? If you cannot explain your idea in one line, I think that idea is no good. So you should be able to explain that idea in one line. And that shows the precision of your own thinking your conviction, and your passion about it. So if you pass through all that, I think then the idea is worth looking at.
Thank you, Deepak. So now you talked about tech. There could be a feeling amongst the crowd, audience here, that whether only tech would get funding, but then how a non-tech idea can reach out to you, because they may feel intimidated that, okay, if I want to go to Deepak, there has to be a tech involved. Otherwise, how do they make presentation to you?
Well, there are two parts to it, I would say. I mean, the Xfinity that we run, actually, our mandate is, I mean, that's like 1,000 crore fund. But our whole mandate is that we will fund only the deep tech companies. So people who are having their own intellectual property rights, they have developed some new technologies around it. So we will fund them only. But when I do my angel investment, for example, and I'll give you a very unique example. I don't know how many of you have heard of a portal called opandit.com. Ah, good, that's one. Only one? Okay, 2, 3, 4, okay. So this girl came to me, a lady, Mrudula Barve, and she is related to us somehow. And I've been seeing her for many years. And she came to my house and said she was pregnant by then. She was married and pregnant. And she's a software engineer, working very well, intelligent person. And she said, I want to leave the job and do something on my own. So I said, tell me what you want to do. So she was quite sort of passionate about the rituals and religion and those kind of stuff. So how do you do around with that? So I said, first give the problem statement. And any idea that you have, I think the first question you should ask to yourself is, whose problem I'm solving? And when we started defining that problem area, we realized that there are a lot of young couples who do not have joint family. Of course, the meaning of joint family has changed now, because I asked one of the kids, what is a joint family? He said, when your biological parents are together, it is joint family. Okay, that's unfortunate. But joint family to me is your parents are around, Aji, Azoba, everybody is around. So all these religious rituals have been passed on by generation to generation. Now this with nucleus families, you want to do all those things, but you do not have anybody to tell you that. Okay, so that was the problem. And this is not only in India, but that's abroad more, because people don't have anybody to tell them what to do and what not to do. So I said, that's a great idea. So what do you want to do? So she said, let me think about it. And within a week's time, and I do that purposely, because if you really are passionate about it, you will come back. Otherwise, you will leave that idea and go. So when I say come next time, is not because I don't want to do it, but because I want to test whether the person is really passionate about it, has an obsession about it. So she came back and said, this is what I want to do. Now this is like 7-8 years back. And today she has this portal called opandit.com. And right from naming ceremony to the last rituals, from Lakshmi Pujan to Gruha Shanti to Ganesh Pujan to everything, what you have to do is just call her and tell that we need to do it. Take at least a bath yourself and get ready. Otherwise, she brings everything. Okay, like Satyanarayana Puja, those 21 or 36 suparis and rice, and including part where you sit, because nowadays the houses don't have even that, because everybody sits on chair. And unfortunately, most of the people nowadays can't even sit on the part. So that is another problem. So she has Chaurang also, so where you can sit. So God is on Chaurang, you are on Chaurang, so that's very good. But that's how it happens. Okay, but she today has more than 50 pujaris, Brahman, on her payroll, and she holds seminars in Holiday on various discussions. She has started Samskar Varga now for foreign kids, right from Shubhankaroti to, because who will teach them? That is the whole idea, because many times father, mother also doesn't know about it. Parents don't know about it. And nobody to teach. I mean, I was taught Ram Raksha by my father. Unfortunately, I didn't have my grandfather by the time I was born. But parents don't remember now, don't know most of the things. But they want their children to know. They want that samskar to be there. And ironically, there is no English word for samskar. Okay, so those samskar has to be going there, and your desire is there, but there is no one to help you. So this is a problem you solve by doing opandit.com. And I think she's more busy than what she was busy in her software career. And now there are a lot of inquiries coming for franchise, because I told her that if you want to expand, you can't be everywhere. She has now, of course, 4 people working with her, and she has second kid now. So the only part is she is married to a Punjabi. So few people had an objection to it. Okay, that how can you do rituals? And once I think I was talking like this on one of the seminars in Pune, and topic was entirely different. And one lady actually stood up and asked me this question. I can speak in Marathi, right? की पुरुषाला सुपारी लावून पूजा करता येते, बाईला नारळ लावून करता येईल का? And answer to that was, Purush Puja Supari ka lavto ki he has taken permission from his wife to perform puja alone. That is the purpose for Supari. For lady, she doesn't require anybody's permission because she is a complete manav. Okay? Men are introduced by nature only for the sperm differentiation. Otherwise, lady can do everything. And once you have a sperm bank, I think none of the men are also required. Okay, but that is the only work you do, right? So, lady doesn't require anybody's permission. She is a complete person and she can perform puja on her own. So, I said, if she is married to somebody, it doesn't matter. She is a complete person. She wants to do it. She is passionate about it and she is doing it. So, slowly that opposition sort of or objection, apprehension went away. And I think she is doing extremely well. She is very busy, especially in Chaturmas, so she has no time to breathe also. And now she has acquired more places. More ironically, her Punjabi mother-in-law wants to start that in Delhi now. Oh. So she has a complete family support because this is, I think, best thing that you're doing and you're solving somebody's problem. So point is, you must be solving somebody's problem. So look at the pain point, and larger the pain point, the probability of success in startup is more. Smaller the problem, the probability is less. So you're solving bigger problem. I mean, you take redbuzz.com for example. I know this guy, he's from IIM Ahmedabad, and I know this guy right from day one, or probably day -1. I mean, his problem was, he was Hyderabadi guy. Every time on vacation, he used to go from Ahmedabad to Hyderabad. Could not find a good ticketing system in the buses. So like you can book railway tickets or you can book air tickets. There was no bus ticket problem. And then he realized most of the IIM students have the same problem. And then he realized most of the Indians have the same problem, that I want to hop around to reach a particular destination. I can't book from one place. And that's how redbuzz.com was created. And rest is a history. I mean, today's market cap is too good. Okay. So point is, larger the problem you solve, I think your idea has better chance of success. So when we look at the idea, we say whose problem is solving. And if you're solving somebody's problem, some small group of problem, then probability is less of success. If you're solving a larger problem, probability is more.
Great. So here, as part of Lakshyavedh team, there are very small entrepreneurs, sukshma, micro, those kind of entrepreneurs also. So if they want to have funding, what avenues they have for getting those funding? And I mean, because I don't have the security, I don't get loans. So these are the issues. Thankfully, we have a lot of banks out here. They are listening to it. Mr. Samant had already mentioned about that. There are a lot of schemes available and banks are supporting. So God's grace, there will be change in that scenario. But otherwise, for a short-term related requirement, how these sukshma micro reach out for funding?
I think first thing, as I said, funding is the last problem.
Yes.
Okay. And today I can tell you from my own experience that when we started iFlex, there were no venture capital and those kind of, we didn't know even this is called startup, okay, when it started. But today, there's a huge money is available in the market and they are chasing the good ideas. So if you're not getting funding, I think your idea is a problem, okay, as a venture capital or PE fund or whatever. Now you must understand the hierarchy of funding. Okay, first comes with your own and friends and relatives funding. That's how the Sukshma should start with, or Sukshma, whatever you call it. Sukshma business, I mean very small business, should have always ambition of becoming bigger or larger. And then we become larger, then you go to the angel capitals. So probably you collect 5 lakh, 10 lakh rupees and start business, and then you require 1 crore rupees, then probably you should have the angel capitals. Then you come to people like us in Xfinity, where our ticket size is like a couple of $1 million, so which is 5 to 10 crores, okay, or 14, 15 crores, because dollar is going up. But that is a level by which we fund when, again, as I said, not on PowerPoint, but when the idea is implemented, you have put your own skin in the game. That's what the word phrase used, that you have put your own money, and you are not taking your salary. Okay, so that means if you lose the money, your wife will shout at you. Okay, so that is the skin in the game. And then you get this couple of $1 million with the plan that you go to level A funding, which is probably $5 million. Because if you initially go to a VC, then VC's ticket size is like $10 to $25 million or $100 million. So they don't even look at you. Okay, so obviously you're knocking the wrong doors. So then you go to level A funding, then level B funding, then level C funding. And then you look at either you get acquired or you get IPO or you do whatever. So that's a kind of a hierarchy that goes. So you start with your own funds, angel, P, small p, larger p, VC, and then the rest. Is that good enough?
Absolutely. So, business model. I'm very happy to share that CFO Asia Award was first achieved by Deepak in 90s, 2000. And iFlex, right from the initial days, if I am right, it was a debt-free company.
Not initial day. Initially, we started with $1 million capital. That time rate was 40 rupees. So it was 4 crore in 93. And that time, obviously, we didn't have so much of money. So we went for Exim loan. And we went for overdraft. So 3 crore Exim loan, 3 crore overdraft limit. So 6 crore and plus 4 crores of this. So 10 crores is the initial capital. And Exim Bank, that time the scheme was that if you're export oriented, then you get the Exim loan. And that used to be at the much concessional rate. I mean, those days, prime lending rate was like 16% and we got it for 12%. And somehow I carry a typical Maharashtrian middle class mindset. So I said, I have to prepay the loan. So Exim Bank people laughed at me. Okay, nobody prepays Exim Bank loan because people will pay overdraft first, and then ours is the last loan that people pay because the cost of loan is much lower. But mindset was that we should be debt free. Okay, so I got that prepayment clause included in the loan agreement first time in Exim Bank history without a penalty, because otherwise they penalize you for prepaying. And we actually prepaid that in 2 years. So from year 4, we were debt free. And when we sold it, we had something like, if I remember right, 30 or $40 million cash in that.
So I think today's, I mean, if you compare that, September 2022, the reserves of now Oracle Financial was 6,390 crore of rupees. And the foundation come from this person. So business model, how people should go about business modeling in terms of the data and in terms of depth.
Yeah, I think I must pick up your earlier question whether the technology is important. And I think when we talk about information technology, we all believe that technology is the main thing. But information technology, I think what is more important is information. So technology is just the enabler. So any business model today, you should have technology, but technology should be the enabler. Like opandit.com, for example. Since I've given that example, I'll tell you. It is a technology-enabled process, a business model. Okay. Puja is not done virtually. Puja is done actually by Barji coming in house. Okay. But the enabling part of it has been done. Information part of it has been done by using technology. So I think technology should be enabler of the entire business model. And my thinking today, anyone starting in India, you should use this terminology JAM, which is quite popular now in India. I don't know, how many of you know JAM? What is it? Correct. Janadhan, Yojana, Aadhaar, and mobile phone. Okay. If you take these three as a base of your business model, there is unlikely that you will fail. Okay. Because Aadhaar, I think, is one of the wonders of the world. The database Aadhaar holds today in India is 10 times larger than Amazon database. Okay, with biometrics. I mean, how many people feel proud about it? I feel very proud about it. And I know the people who have developed this. And I know the kind of resources being used. I mean, today, whatever you say, if I put my thumb impression in any outlet which is using Aadhaar as a database, my entire profile comes immediately. You know what kind of processing happens behind? Because taking the image of my thumb impression and archiving the data is not a simple process. I mean, United States hasn't achieved that kind of a magnitude. Okay. But 120 crore people in this, 130 crores people in this country, most of them having Aadhaar, or 95%, 99% having Aadhaar. And all their thumb impressions, eyeballs, and everything has been stored at some place with minimum cost. So you use that technology, you use Janadhan Yojana where the direct transfers are possible. And you use mobile as a smartphone because 45% of the people, Indian population, use smartphone today. So, and I can tell you, I have seen this personally. Place like Varna, where normally you will feel that the people are not so highly educated and so on. But the very so-called illiterate lady selling her milk, today every morning she checks up the rate of the milk on the portal, on the mobile app. And then that is the information. Okay. So how you get the information is available. How you get it is important. But more than that, you getting the information, how you make use of that information is very important. So you make use of information to solve somebody's problem. I think that's a success mantra.
Okay. So we have seen companies, as you mentioned, funding comes last. And yes, companies got funded. They have got 1 or 2 rounds of funding. And despite that, we see that the companies are failing. What goes wrong that you see it should be corrected right the initial stage? And what ethics or what issues you feel needs to be concentrated to avoid all those kind of failures?
I wish I knew the answer, because then I would have never failed in funding, right? But after going through, like I said, 400 ideas, and when idea comes to me or presentation comes to me, it has gone through my investment committee and they must have seen 2,000 ideas. And still we can go wrong, because business is business, you know. So there is no success formula in any business. So you have to try, okay. But there are multiple reasons. Initially, that obsession goes away. Many entrepreneurs feel, firstly, they are not entrepreneurs. They are trying to be entrepreneurs. So their mindset is not of entrepreneur. Okay, which we can identify in 90% cases, but in 10% cases, we can also make a mistake. So their enthusiasm goes away in first 6 months. They are unwilling to take that blunt of being entrepreneur. Especially, my feeling is, and probably I'm ready to generalize this, more educated you are, there is more chance that you will fail. because you think too many risks factors, you know too many things, and you have got an option to go away and do the job, which gives you 40, 50 lakh rupees salary. Your wife is happy, your family is happy, your husband is happy, whatever. And if that option is open, then you're not burn the bridges behind you. I think every entrepreneur getting into it has to burn the bridges. So one of the things that we see always while funding is that their P&L or projected P&L does not show the owner's or the promoter's salary into it. I don't want to fund a particular venture to pay his or her salaries. The moment you start getting salaries, you feel relaxed. After 2 years, you can always wash your hands and say, I'm sorry, I couldn't do it. So burning the bridges is very important because that keeps you fire in your stomach to succeed. So that's very important. Second is sometimes it gets into weird ideas. Many times it so happens once you get funding, promoters stop listening to the VC guys. Okay, and we have seen that problem many times. But once I got the funding, that I know my business well and what you can tell me more. So you start ignoring it. But I think VCs come with a collective wisdom with them. So they may not be domain experts. You might be good in a particular domain, but running a business is not just running a technology or not just running a technical side of it. It has a lot of more commercial, marketing, HR, a lot of things involved in that. And I think there is some good advice that you can get from people who think good for you and who want you to succeed, who are not your enemies. But generally, mistake entrepreneurs do is, I know everything. So that attitude is quite a failure recipe. Third thing is, my feeling again is that more technical person you are, the commercial acumen is less. You are so engrossed in your own technology and everything. You keep on building Taj Mahal. I mean, I have said that many times in iFlex also, that we had a lot of technology great people, but they will build Taj Mahal. See, Taj Mahal should be cover hai. People will come, pay $5, say hi, very good, and go away. But what I want to build is a housing society where people will come and pay the rent. And that is my revenue. So I will not be, but technology, more you are in, you will build Taj Mahal, which will not be used by anybody to reside. Nobody is going to pay you rent. And it is a huge cost of maintenance. I don't know how much money we spend to maintain Taj Mahal, right? So you have to create something which will fetch you license fee, rent, revenues, billing, and so on. So you must acquire as soon as possible a commercial knowledge. Or you should marry a commercial person. That is the best way, low cost, hopefully. Okay, because both technical guys, I think that many times is disaster.
So whether the REIT is relevant in that case?
Say it again.
REIT, the REIT mind space.
No, REIT is entirely different. I think REIT is a new class of assets, and REIT whole idea is that you can corporatize the commercial space. So in Mindspace REIT, we have today 37 million square feet of office space, which we acquire by listing our own entity. Okay, we made a IPO of 4,800 crores in midst of COVID, where first time we could not do a road show by personally going. It was completely virtual road shows. And still we got worldwide 13 times of 4,800 crores subscription. Okay, because it's a new asset, it's a new asset class. And by then, you can actually own a commercial space, so to say, because you are holding the equity part of it, which owns the real estate, which is commercial real estate. And I think that thing will grow. You get a yield of around 6.8% today. That's what we had said in the IPO document, which is tax-free. So 6.8% tax-free is phenomenally good. And it's real estate appreciates. So your book value will go on appreciating all the time. And therefore you should make a, this is, as I said, this is a new class of asset, quite popular in US. In India, it has just started. So many people don't understand this much. But I think you should understand. But the REIT is an entirely different part. Is a different ballgame.
Now, allow me to take you back to 98, 99. So 98, 99, many people would recall that there was a pressure all over the world about year 2000, Y2K. And most of the software companies in India were after all those Y2K projects where airlines will go down, televisions will shut, and stock exchanges will stop working. And most of the software companies were after those lucrative revenue business for Y2K projects. While Citl, later iFlex, but Citl that time focused only on the corporate banking project. Whether it was a calculated risk, sheer self-confidence, or audacity.
Certainly not audacity, but because we are not capable of being, having audacity there. We were in global market, and idea was that we were doing something different. There were 300 companies in India who were doing services and Y2K business, and entire way of getting business was to cut short on the rates. So it was arbitrage on labor cost basically. And then what resources you're using is basically to look COBOL programs and mainframes and try to look at them and do everything. Where we were product company and we wanted to be a product, and our solution to Y2K was use a product. And we sold like selling a product as a Y2K solution to it. Yes, many times we were questioned, we asked this question, are we missing an opportunity? Because subsequently we thought that many service companies got entry into many of the customers because of Y2K project, and then they developed their whole thing. But I think we were vertically focused, so we were in banks and financial sector. So product was a good strategy, and we could expand during Y2K time. And we concentrated on developing our own products as a solution. And I think in hindsight, probably that was a correct decision, because we remained as a product company. Because the moment you start making money on Y2K and services, you lose that characteristic of a product company. And product company multiples are entirely different. The value creation is entirely different, which is now we know.
So typically 3 to 5 years.
Incidentally, Infosys and Microsoft, both of them got listed at the same time. And you know the value difference, right? So that is the difference between a product and services.
So considering the typical cycle of a company from idea, they've got small funding, large funding, 3 to 5 years of lock-in period by the investors, and then typically the investors would talk about exit. What would be the avenues of exit, including IPO, and what kind of exits you have seen? If you can share some of the examples, use cases, that will be really great.
I think one of the questions that we ask when the idea comes to us for funding is a typical question, or rather two questions. When you can become $100 million company? And answer, there is no right or wrong answer. But the whole idea of asking this question is whether the promoter has ever thought even to be a $100 million, or in probably India we can say 100 crore company. Because many times people, the facial expressions are such that they never thought about this. Okay, so people who don't have that aspiration to become $100 million company, I think will not fund it. So that's one part of it. And second question that we ask is, what is your end game? So as an investor, I want to understand what is your end game. You want to run the company forever, your kids, your grandchildren should run that company, or you want to create value out of it and get out of it and make money and get into serial entrepreneurship and so on and so forth. But there can be multiple end games. Okay. Firstly, 50-60% cases, the startups will get acquired by somebody. Okay. And there are multiple cases where even if you're creating especially a IPR, a bigger company will acquire you while you are created the IPR. So that's a better way of getting exit. Depending on, again, market conditions, whether you will get a good multiple, bad multiple, good money, bad money. But there is nothing called good money. whatever money you get and you can exit at that point of time, I think, because in hindsight, everybody is wiser. So that time, that decision is very important. Are you happy with the multiple that you got, the return that you got, the yield that you got on the investment? And probably I would say 3x, 4x in 4 years, I would be happy to sell it. Second is, you get a strategic investor, like what we did in case of iFlex. Of course, iFlex was a listed company by then, so that was a different option. But you get a strategic partner and you merge your company with them either, or if you are really good in your technology and you're so passionate about your own company, then you run the same company independently of that acquired company. So you get rid of one private equity and get another VC. Okay, but the monkey on your back changes, but the situation remains same. Sometimes the VCs are what we call the VC as a virtual capitalist. So they peep in your business too much. They dictate too many things at you. I would love to get rid of them as soon as possible. In fact, I would say that you should choose the right VC or a right PE who does not interfere in your affairs on day-to-day matters. And third, of course, is IPO. Okay, as you make initial public offering in India, if you're an Indian company, and then think of the next level IPO in US market or in London market to get a better valuation. But again, it depends on kind of business model that you run. But the differentiation I would make is nowadays in the new businesses, there is B2B and B2C. So B2B, generally I would do an acquisition part as a game, because it is not B2C. The B2B has a kind of a limited customer base, a quicker success than, and it is a profit-making company. B2B should be a profit-making company. B2C is a different ballgame altogether. And I will not claim, even after so many years of experience, that I understand valuation of B2C. So I call it a bigger fool theory. So you find a bigger fool than you and sell it to them. Because why people making losses continuously should get that kind of evaluation? I mean, there is no financial metrics or models, these kind of things work, right? I mean, I'm sure many of you understand the financial models, and loss-making company, I mean, in Shopper Stop business, for example, in board meetings, we discussed this, that we are trying to compete with people who don't want to make profits. Okay, and we want to make profits because we are brick and mortar, omni-channel or whatever we call it. And then one idea that came to my mind, and I think you should know this or remember this, is that since we just lost cricket match to somebody, to England, whose prime minister is Indian, so at least Indian origin, whatever we call it. If I want to win against Sachin Tendulkar, why should I play cricket with him? I will play kabaddi with him. Right? I mean, I know he's best in cricket. I cannot win with him. Right? So I will play kabaddi with him. So there is a chance at least. I'm not claiming that he doesn't play kabaddi good. But there is at least chance for me winning. So point I'm making is that in competition, okay, or even in endgame, you choose a game that you can play better. So there is no fixed formula. What is your business model? What is your customer base? What is your concentration of customers? What is your geographies that you're running in? There are so many factors that will decide what endgame you should play, how you should monetize, whether you should monetize fully or whether you should monetize partially, and wait for the next gains to come in. That is a risky proposition. Or do some risk management by monetizing some part of it and so on. So, point I'm making is it is not a fixed formula. Because if I give you a fixed formula, then probably all these consultants sitting here will lose the business. Okay, the whole idea of consultant is to tell you what you know already. So you know it, but you don't know which one to apply when. And that comes probably with experience, with kind of wisdom And many times you have to do a trial and error. I mean, many times most of the time there is no fixed formula. But monetizing it is important. Creating your own empire for ages, which is a typical Indian way of working, that my family will get into this, my grandchildren will be part of it. And still I call it is a professionally managed company. So that is not professionally managed company. A professionally managed company to me is one where a management trainee entering into the company has a chance to become CEO of the company. But my CEO is going to be definitely a family member, then it is not a professionally managed company. That's the way I look at it. So it all depends on how you want to take your business up, what model that you want to run, and what brand you have created, what is your brand equity, what brand value. Like in pharma industry, one of my companies does the investment banking at a molecule level. Say for example, a pharma company has a portfolio of multiple brands. They have got nephrology, they have got ophthalmology, they have got all kind of stuff. And then they realize that I need to streamline my brands and my therapies because my salespeople cannot go and approach entire market right from gynecologists to neurologists or general practitioners. Okay. So what we do is we realign their brands and take nephrology brand, for example, in one company and ophthalmology brands in one company so that they can sell multiple brands and concentrate on their marketing efforts. So that can be one of the strategies, point I'm making is. So there are multiple strategies. Idea is to create value and get maximum value out of it. And no value is called maximum or minimum or fair or good. I think my view is that once you get the money, how you use that money is going to be very important. Because if my share, I don't sell and my share goes up by 6%, while I take the money and invest in such an asset which goes up by 20%, then obviously selling was a good idea. But if I get my sell my share, grows by 6%, and I invest in property which has failed to be developed, some MADA problem came and the property got, so it's a negative investment. So obviously the selling was not a good idea. So where you use the money is also good. So it's a complex issue, multiple problems. No, I'm okay. Thank you.
Regarding iFlex, there was one dhakka tantra used. Suddenly, 2% shares were issued to Standard Chartered prior to IPO. So how does kind of dhakka tantra helps to get valuations?
Well, I mean, I can't reveal all the secrets.
With his permission, I'm going to reveal one small secret.
And this is all been getting recorded, so I don't want to obviously reveal everything. But I'll tell you the story. First thing, my American directors of Citibank did not know what Standard Bank is. So they asked the first question, who is this Standard Bank? So we said, and we were sitting in London for our board meeting. So we said, well, it is Asian Bank. So it is Asian Bank, then why their headquarters is in London? They should be in Asia. And Asian Bank, they knew about Hong Kong Bank, they knew about Greenlays or NZ. They did not know about Standard Chartered. And then we said, well, this is Asian Bank, but in UK. Unfortunately, Americans did not know. I mean, when I say Americans, it's not a normal American guy, but they were on board of Citibank. They were running Citibank, these people. So they probably in banking sector in 96 countries. So I thought they knew Standard Chartered. And for us, Standard Chartered was a big bank. But we were trying to do a PE deal with them at that time. And the gentleman who was president, chairman, whatever you call it, CEO, was an Indian guy and who was ex-Citibanker. So ultimately, we could manage to convince our board that we should do this deal. And from there, we went to meet the CEO. We had an appointment and we went and waited outside. And you're talking about dhakka tantra, so this is more dhakka that we got. That while we were waiting out at around 4:30 in the evening in London, we got a news that this gentleman is sacked. And now how to go back and tell our board, by the way, this guy is sacked. but we managed. I think idea was to get that valuation parameter, because otherwise there are a lot of calculations actually we have to do. So that is where you get your hair white, and many times lose. I mean, I used to have much more hair than you. You remember that, right?
Of course. So I remember when the 2% shares were being allotted and the calculation was happening, Deepak was so precise that कशाला आपण एवढे ते शेअर्स देतोय, 0.000 पर्यंत कॅल्क्युलेट करा, मिनिमम शेअर जे आपण कमिट करतोय 2% तेवढेच द्यायचे, त्याच्यापेक्षा जास्त द्यायचे नाहीत. सो ही हॅड ॲक्च्युली सॅट विथ अस अँड इन एक्सेल अँड सेड सगळं कॅल्क्युलेशन पूर्ण 0.0000 पर्यंत करा आणि मगच शेअर्स अलॉट करा. म्हणून ते पांढरे.
I don't remember this, but
I do remember.
But this is typical Maharashtrian middle class family, right? Background, and I'm proud of it. I'm not ashamed.
Of course. So IPO, iFlex IPO. This IPO came when Ketan Parekh market debacle happened and the markets were down to the lowest, and most of the investments bankers were without any work as such, and that time a bold step happened and IPO happened, and one of my most cherished memory is to hand over the NSE listing certificate letter to you for iFlex listing. So if you can share something about IPO, iFlex IPO, your learnings and the things.
I think IPO is a great learning, and that should be enjoyed. And it is not once, I did it thrice. So Superstop IPO, I was there, and Mindspace REIT that we did was there. It is a tough job. Unfortunately, require investment bankers also for that. I mean, their role is like bharji ka role in shadi. They don't care whether the marriage succeed or not, because they are there for divorce also. Okay, so you must understand everybody's role in that whole thing. There are a set of lawyers, they charge you heavily, and then they say nothing, because ultimately responsibility is yours. So what we say in typical English is that when the shit hits the fan, you are alone there. So you must remember that. But that whole spread is going to come and hit you on your face. So you must understand this part. So you are alone. Okay. But it's a great experience. But I was telling one of my American friends that it is like getting your daughter married. And he said, what does that mean? I don't know even when my daughter got married. And then I realized it had an Indian context than the global context. Okay, because, but it is exactly the same feeling. Daughter is still yours, but now it is IPO'd company, it's a listed company, so many people can ask questions. Okay, and then the AGM scenario change. I mean, you attended those AGM before and after. And person having 5 shares also can ask stupid question. But there are certain things that you must learn, that person asking you question in AGM does not require answer. They want to ask the questions. And more aged person is more, and he gets a mic or she gets a mic, they want to talk. So you have to go through that era of AGM, and many people have refused to go to IPO because of these reasons. People will question you. But I think they all think good about you. They ask questions, but they don't expect the answers. And if you remember this, then I think IPO is a great idea. Those road shows and those kind of stuff. But again, as I said, you have to limit your expenses on IPO, because many people believe that equity capital comes at a free cost. There is no cost to it. But I think equity capital has a huge cost. Okay, and the IPO expenses are heavy. Like first time we were planning the road shows, and we were supposed to go to US, and this investment banker, typical Barji, he came and told me that, oh, let's charter the plane and fly this plane. Charter the plane, you're mad. I think use Delta, that Buza tickets we used to get, 4 or 5 hops. But they will not take you to the place. I said, I will not go. Okay. Me and Rajesh were in Hong Kong, and from Hong Kong we flew to London during the book opening part. I can tell you that flight from Hong Kong to London was like 12 hours. And that day, after a month, I got a real good sleep on the flight. But fortunately, I can sleep in any vehicle which is I'm not driving. Okay, I can sleep very well. That is the first sleep I got. But moment we landed in London, this was like in June 2002, the heading on British press was that India and Pakistan likely to go on nuclear war. That was the heading. And then to go and tell investors, please come and invest in India was a tough job. Second thing I realized that one of the 3 days that we had in London, one day was England versus Brazil football World Cup match. And that day all appointments got cancelled because England versus Brazil World Cup match, football matches. So I was thinking, I can't waste my time day for a football match. But then whatever history I had learned about or heard about, and when I traveled so much around the world, I said, let me go to Scotland and do it. So I called up few Scotland guys, Scottish investors, and they said, yeah, we are not interested in English match, come. And we had fruitful meetings, and one of them became my anchor investor. And the guy who met me, my local guy, the banker said, this guy, I have never met him. He was there for 15 years in that field. He said, this guy never showed up because he's so big. But that day he showed up because he didn't want to watch the match. And he took the decision and he put $15 million as an anchor investor. And he was, till I left, he was my shareholder. Okay, Tiro Price is one of them. If you remember all those people. So it is a wonderful experience. And then doing the road shows is great idea. Selling your ideas is great thing. A lot of learning because a lot of investors ask very good questions. And even today, there are 3 investors, I don't want to take their names. But they were only 3 investors who said no to me. I will not invest. And even today when I meet them, I tease them that you took a wrong decision and they agree that they took a wrong decision.
Great. So whether it will be a good idea for MSMEs to go for a SME listing, or they should wait, build their revenue story and then go for a main board listing? What would be your advice?
See, India MSME is typically in a unique position. I mean, this is my way of looking at it, and I may be wrong, so you excuse me if I'm wrong. But my feeling is that in India, MSME wants to remain MSME. They don't want to grow up. I mean, for excise reasons in the past or GST, whatever, some stupid reasons. But I think that is wrong way to do it. Second thing is, only 40% MSME take loans from banks. Rest of them go for a private funding. So whatever interest rates down or up doesn't affect MSME, obviously, because there is only 40% loan taken from banks. So I think MSME must start with the objective to become a larger house. Every US MSME wants to become larger. I mean, right from Microsoft to Google to everybody Microsoft was started in a garage, right? I mean, then rest is history. But show me one MSME which has grown to that level, or at least a bigger level becoming IPO. I think SME exchange is something which at least I'm not convinced about because the kind of transactions that happen there, kind of liquidity available, kind of people who are there. And again, I said I may be wrong because I don't have much of experience in SME exchange. But I'll be not happy with doing SME exchange. I would like to become 1,000 crore company and list it on a NSE or BSE. That should be the idea.
So what should be the discipline or the ground activities that they should do if they want to get listed on a main board? What should be the period they should think about before they even go ahead for the listing? Especially the discipline part, the compliance part, and the whole process kind of.
I think again, it is not one answer. It depends on what business model you're following or what vertical you're in. If you're a new technology and it is a hot technology, you own IPR, I think then doing it as soon as possible is a good idea. If it's a traditional manufacturing stuff or a service stuff, Then creating a particular size, critical size is very important. Third is you should be profit-making company. There should be good cash flows. Your projection should be, because all investments happen not on your past performance. It happens on your future potential. I'm investing in any company, even as a PE or a VC or a shareholder. I do it based on what your future is going to be. I don't care. It is same like cricket. If I hit 100 centuries, it doesn't matter whether I'll play today. What I have to see is what is my potential. Only thing, those comments are made only when we lose the match. Before that, we are all happy with what people are doing. We're done the time? We should finish? No, okay. You finish 1 hour. So I think people should, what I would say, I mean, as I said, there's no fixed formula for that. But one should look at themselves.
One quick question about government efforts. Do you feel that there should be some government efforts or recommendation from your side about they get a faster listing or any of those kind of ideas?
First thing, I'm not so big to suggest anything to government. But we are part of that various forums on the government side and we keep on suggesting. But I can tell you today the position is that kind of infrastructure that we have got, kind of ecosystem we have got. We are the third largest ecosystem for the startups in the world today. Okay, we have more than 100 unicorns. And I'm sure you guys know unicorn is valuation goes $1 billion. We have, last year we have some $37 billion coming in for startups. So I think this is a great opportunity. This is a big opportunity, land of opportunity. Government has created that infrastructure, it is still creating. Are we greatly happy about it? No. We require a lot more. But remember this jam, what I talked about, we know that 6 lakh villages in this country have got the electricity now. They have smokeless kitchens. And the things, the way in which they are moving, I think there is a geopolitical stability, especially as compared to the world, what is happening around, what is happening in China versus what is happening in Europe. Now everybody, every multinational is thinking of China +1, which is they want to have alternate station in India. Vietnam is already doing a good job on that. Of course, Chinese are going in Vietnam and creating that infrastructure for them, so that they themselves create a China +1, which probably will happen in India also. We have to prevent it happening. MSME creates a huge employment, which we must appreciate. Government should do more than what they're doing today. But as I said, MSME should not remain MSME. That's first thing. And second thing is MSME should always innovate, because larger companies cannot innovate and put in place new products, new processes. It is only smaller businesses that can innovate. But they are so rigid in their organization structures and hierarchies and so on, there is unlikeliness that they will create an innovation. So it is smaller companies that should create innovation and then monetize that as soon as possible. So I think that's the way it should go.
With your permission, can I allow a few of the audience, if they have any questions, they can ask questions. Audience, if you have any questions, yeah, please, volunteers, if you can share mic over there, you can ask.
In fact, today only we were discussing on some company which does B2G. I don't want to take again the name of the company. I think there are 2 or 3 points. One is B2G, if you've got a monopoly, then it's a good idea. Okay. But it is politically influenced, it's a bad idea. And if you start with B2G, as early as possible, you should try to diversify yourself. Because concentration on only government We have seen that happening in electrical distribution and electrical manufacturing, Mahavitaran and all kind of stuff. I think it's a risky business. I will not invest in B2G unless that product or service is such that it can be implemented either in the private sector or private customers, or that model can be repeated for other countries, because B2G can go to emerging markets, and there are 53 countries in emerging market where you can sell. If that is possible, then yes. But otherwise, your business model is so fragile that if government changes, you might be arrested also, who knows? Yeah, I mean, waste management also is not one segment. It is solid waste management, it is liquid waste management, affluent plants, it is electronic waste management now. So I know a case where we have not, I don't know if they are funded or not, but there's a guy who does the electronic waste management part, and he collects those stuff and whatever he does with that. But to get those permissions from environment and those kind of stuff, it took 1.5 years for him. It's a long process. Okay, but this will happen only always when you are trying to start something with a new concept. Like we started the stem cell business. We are still taking time to convince ICMR that stem cells exist. Okay, I mean, we have to start from there. So when you introduce a new concept, you are likely to get premium in the long run, and heavy premium, but the teething problems are going to be much larger. And convincing government, you are always looked upon with lot of suspicion. Okay, because all of us know how you convince government, right? So B2G business are little dicey. But B2P or P2P business, and one of the things I did not say talk about, I think I forgot, is one of the way of funding is crowdfunding. So peer-to-peer or crowdfunding, and especially with this blockchain technology and all these kind of things are quite possible. And I always say that film industry, for example, is crowdfunding. Where Shah Rukh Khan gets money from all of us. We buy the ticket and therefore he becomes a rich guy, and then suddenly he becomes a great hero. But it's our money, right? We all poor guys have spent their money by borrowing and going to the theaters and 100 rupees, 1,000 rupees. And nowadays it seems you have to spend 1,200 rupees for a family of 4. And if you buy something more there, it is popcorns and all, then it's much more. But that all money goes to Shah Rukh Khan. I mean, Shah Rukh Khan is actor. So that is a best crowdfunding. But crowdfunding is something which is very important. It is coming up. And if it is technology enabled, there are a lot of portals which are coming up in the US now, that it is thrown open. Sometimes it is reverse auction. And if you understand game theory, then that becomes very interesting proposition, that people auction to price your equity stock, but you can collect huge monies on crowdfunding. But your responsibility grows, because crowdfunding becomes many people questioning you. So your business model has to be yet quite sturdy and proven. And it is, I mean, there are many cases, like one case in California, where they did the blood testing equipment, that this young lady who claimed that to be doing so great. And there's a nice book called Bad Blood. And you should see how people were fooled. Now she's unfortunately in jail, which can happen in US. Not in India, the moment it happens, you have to just fly to London. That's all you have to do. This is very simple. So you should buy one London ticket first and then do all these things. And you can easily do that. But in US, she got arrested. But point is that kind of claims that she made, which were false, ab initio. I mean, you are a legal person, so you understand what ab initio is. So it was never meant to succeed. So those kind of cheating things don't do crowdfunding. You should be sure of your model. You might go wrong at the end of the day. It's a risk funding, basically, and you must put those disclaimers there. But crowdfunding is one of the good things for SME, especially in micro.
So on this note, this last question, one way. There are two, three questions. Oh, here also.
Sir,
I think it's again, I can talk 3 hours for this. Okay, and we are working on it. We're working on it. But I'll tell you the way in which it is. I mean, I'll give you a simple example. Okay, मराठीत सांगतो मी तुम्हाला. विरुद्धार्थी शब्द द्या असं 4थीच्या धड्याला प्रश्नपत्रिकेत प्रश्न होता आणि शब्द होता वर. त्या मुलाने शाप असं विरुद्धार्थी शब्द लिहिला, बाईनी चूक दिला. का तर वरला मॉडेल आन्सरमध्ये खाली हा शब्द होता, वरच्या खाली. तर त्याने शाप धरला, कारण त्याला वर म्हणजे देवाने वर दिला, त्याच्याऐवजी देवाने शाप दिला. तर त्याला चूक देण्याच्या ऐवजी त्याला बरोबर द्यायला पाहिजे होतं, राधा त्याला 1 मार्क जास्त द्यायला पाहिजे होता, कारण त्याने काहीतरी वेगळं ठरलं. आणि तो दुर्दैवाने 4थीतला मुलगा होता, तो लग्न झालेला असता तर वधू पण म्हणाला असता तो. आणि दॅट इज नॉट क्रिएटिव्हिटी, दॅट इज द एक्सपिरियन्स. पण what point I'm making is we kill the creativity at that point itself. त्या मुलाला चूक देऊन त्यांनी त्याची क्रिएटिव्हिटी मारली. तर ते न करता जर का आज म्हणजे गप्प बसत, जसं पुलंनी म्हटलंय की बोधवचिन्ह बोधवाक्य कोणतंही असलं कोणत्याही शाळेचं तरी सगळ्याचा अर्थ शेवटी गप्प बसा असंच होतं. तर ते गप्प बसा न म्हणता जितकी मुलं तुम्हाला जास्त प्रश्न विचारतील त्यांची क्रिएटिव्हिटी जेवढी असेल. आणि फॉर्च्युनेटली आता मला वाटतं पॅरेंटल सिस्टम सुद्धा बदलते. एक तर आईवडिलांना 1 किंवा 2 मुलंच असतात, त्यामुळे त्यांच्याकडे एवढं लक्ष पुरवलं जातं की प्रत्येक प्रश्नाला उत्तर दिलं जातं त्यांच्या. म्हणजे मी कसा झालो वगैरे अशा पूर्वी प्रश्न विचारायची आपली हिंमत नव्हती, पण आता मुलं सहज विचारतात आणि आईबाप सांगतात सुद्धा काय कसं झालं ते वगैरे. तर हे जे क्वेश्चनिंग आहे, जी क्युरिओसिटी आहे मुलांची, ती जर का करता. आणि मला आनंद होतो सांगायला की आता हे नवीन जी न्यू एज्युकेशन पॉलिसी NEP, आय थिंक NEP अलाउज दॅट थिंग टू हॅपन मोर. And I think I just met this lady, young lady from my old iFlex. She is working on that, creating, like give a IoT project to school kids, which is extra mile to run. But it is whether the project will succeed or not is not material. But it will create. I think Bhalchandra, you remember we had done fully गोळ्याचा खेळ आपण एकदा केला होता 10वीत असताना. What a pleasure we had got at that time. Okay, it was all relays based and there was no computers, nothing. But that gives the seeding sort of creativity that we can do something like this, we can think something like this. So I think it is not only education system, but I think it is the responsibility of parents. But unfortunately, Ali, the best babysitter is the iPad given to the kid. की एकदा ते iPad दिल्यानंतर ते पोरगं खेळत बसलेलं असतं, तो काय खेळतो तुम्हाला पत्ता नसतो. आणि मग क्रिएटिव्हिटी त्या पोराच्यावर अवलंबून असते त्याची कितपत आहे ती. नाही तर तो गेम खेळत बसला असतो आणि आई बाप दोघे TV बघत असतात, त्यांना आनंदी असतात. सो देयर इज नो कम्युनिकेशन, देयर इज नो इंटरॅक्शन. I mean, connectivity is there with the world, but not within 2 people. That is the main problem. So I think education system is one part, but I think parental responsibility, society's responsibility is also very much there. And I think it is changing for good. That's a good idea. Yeah, sorry, one more.
I think this will be a last.
If you got time and if you no problem, put the session in.
Put the session.
Oh, sorry. Then.
Sir, a small question, sir. Sir, when we have an idea of a startup idea, sir, what is the best way to approach for the investors? What is the way to approach?
Are you married?
I'm married, sir.
First, taste it to your wife. Seriously, I'm not joking. Because she is the best critic of yours, and she can give you the best. Sort of appraisal. Okay, if you succeed, then you can venture out anywhere.
Sir, I ventured out 3 companies.
Yeah, but I think, as I said, you should have obsession. No, whatever I said, But test ask those 5 questions to yourself, and see whether you succeed in that, and then you can go out. But remember, if you can't convince a PE or a funding guy or angel investor, then something wrong is with your idea. Don't blame the investor because you could not convince.
But I have not yet shared, sir.
Yeah, and go and talk to 10 people. Out of 10, maybe two of them will agree and 8 of them will not. But those 2 who will agree will help you in funding. But before that, you should create. As I said, funding is the last thing you should worry about. Build that organization, build that team, convince yourself, get that conviction, and then go. Yeah.
Okay, I think we can go on and on for questions. I think, Deepak, one question from a lady. Sure. There. This is the last question. Please promise there will not be. Please let's allow the lady to ask the question, and you can ask questions to Deepak on outside the room. Is that okay?
Okay.
Because we have to do justice for the next session as well. Don't want to.
Yeah, only thing, don't ask personal questions. I'm personal in my business. Mein bhi kya karu. There are many people who come to me and say that, can you give us some idea that we can work business on? I can't give idea. We ran a complete thing with, on entrepreneurship. And there was a minister and he said that we are going to start a department in government for entrepreneurship. Immediately after the program, at least 4 guys approached, can I get a job in that department? मैं सगळं केलेलं फुकट गेलं. We can't hear.
Hello sir, myself Nunmai. I want to know that we have the unique ideas, but having the ideas and taking it to as a startup, giving it the complete startup. So how to recognize the demand in the market? What type of things we have to do to understand that whatever idea we are having, that we can convert it into startup, and how much is the demand in the market?
Just go to the market. It depends on what idea you have got. Okay. Just one example I'll give you. There was a great stockbroker, successful stock dealer in US market. And people asked him ultimately, what is your secret? He said, moment I used to reach home, I used to ask my kids, he had 3 kids, what's on? And they would tell him what's on. And he used to go and buy those shares. I mean, suppose they talk about, dinosaurs, games or whatever, or logo or whatever. So he will go and buy those shares. Point I'm making is market information you can get from anywhere. Keep your eyes and ears open all the time. Okay? You should be like a fish. You know, specialty of fish? तुम्ही मासे खाता का? मासेचे बंद डोळे झालेले बघितले कधी? कधीच नाही. मेल्यावर सुद्धा डोळे उघडे असतात त्याचे. राईट? तसंच राहा तुम्ही. डोळे उघडे ठेवा काय. झोपेत सुद्धा. थोडं वरती घ्या माईक.
एज्युकेशन सिस्टीम मध्ये जो फॉल्स आहे की मुलांना त्यांच्या क्रिएटिव्हिटीला सप्रेस केलं जातं. तर मी ऍक्च्युली काही ऍक्टिव्हिटी बुक्स वरती काम करते ज्याच्यामध्ये त्यांच्या 5 सेन्सेसला आपण एनग्रॉस करू शकतो. त्यावरती तर मला त्याबद्दल जाणायचं होतं की अशा प्रकारचे ऍक्टिव्हिटी फॉरेन कंट्रीजमध्ये फार चालतं, पण आपल्याकडे नॉर्मली असं केलं जातं की एक काहीतरी टिपिकल ऍक्टिव्हिटी बुक किंवा टॅब हातामध्ये दिला की झालं, पॅरेंट्स फ्री झाले. तर मला त्याबद्दल समजून घ्यायचं होतं की त्याची काय रिक्वायरमेंट आहे, डिमांड किती आहे. कारण त्या प्रकारची बुक्स जर क्रिएट करायची तर 1 बुक विल कॉस्ट अराउंड 5,000-10,000 रुपीज इन अब्रॉड. तर इंडियामध्ये लोक त्या लेवलचं स्पेंड करायला तयार होतील का? तर याचा मार्केट सर्वे कसा करायचा?
तुम्हाला पटकन आयडिया सांगू?
हो.
नंतर मला रॉयल्टी द्या मात्र.
नक्की.
तुम्ही इथे मॅन्युफॅक्चर करा आणि वेस्टर्न कंट्रीजमध्ये विका. जिथे मार्केट आहे तिथे विका ना. इथे आता क्रिएट करायला वेळ लागेल तुम्हाला.
थँक्यू सर.
Okay. On this note, I think we should respect the.
When you get that size, you're a profitable company, you're a good cash flow, you got a good customer base, okay, and you got a potential. Again, as I said, past performance is not important, but your potential is such, your product is such, your service is such that has a huge potential. You are convinced about it, and you can convince somebody. I think the right time to go to VC.
Deepak, thank you so much. We have a session. Thank you so much, Deepak, for your valuable time and guiding us throughout the session. A big hand, please, for Deepak.